The beauty of the subject is we are all already communicating with our body.
What exactly defines a body language expert?
As you rise in your experience, there is so much of data that one needs to keep crunching all the time.
Is body language different to studying psychology?
I need to put in that effort to also share what's on my mind, that is one thing. And second is to be vulnerable.
How leaders use body language to build trust and rapport with their teams.
Khyati is a renowned body language expert and a CXO coach. Khyati consults senior leaders and corporates as a leadership coach. She has worked with designations like CEO, country manager, head HR, senior VP, etc. from corporates like Google, Discovery, Adani, and SR. Khyati has received national as well as international recognitions for her domain specialization and leadership, including International Business Excellence 2018 by World Confederation of Businesses, Houston, US.
This is the Therapy Diaries, your mental health podcast where every story brings us closer to wellness. Today we have Khyati Bhatt, a body language expert and a leadership coach to renowned companies and people. Welcome to our show, Khyati.
Hi Ashna, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Can you tell me how reliable is body language cues in detecting deception?
I think this is what everybody wants to know. Unfortunately, there is no one signal which can tell you that okay, she did that and this is exactly a sign of somebody lying to that extent. There are poker players, if you go and talk to them, what they will tell you is they study patterns in people. For example, if somebody had a heavy hand, they behaved in this manner, or when somebody had a lighter hand but they were trying to bluff, this is how they behaved, right? So what they are doing is they are understanding what we call as a baseline behavior or normal behavior. When you like something, this is what you do. When you are extra excited, this is what you do. You meaning any of us do that, right?
Correct.
So if you understand that baseline, it helps you to understand when a person is behaving a little differently, right? So understanding that pattern is easy, but if you're looking for specific answer to this, I could give you one or two heads up, but again the idea being you can't just pinpoint this and say this is a sign that a person is definitely lying
Or deceiving you.
Correct.
I think deception will also become personal, right? So for example, if you have to deceive me compared to Nagesh here has to deceive me, your ways of doing it will be completely different. So will my study apply equally to both of you, for example?
Yeah, so to take your question, if Nagesh has to deceive you, he will have to make an extra effort because you know him really well, right? And maybe till now we've just interacted to a limited extent, so for me it might be a little easier to that to kind of put in something but mean something differently.
No, what I mean is, would your body cues be same in deceiving me?
So the idea being that deception is a very deceiving term, let's put it like that, right? Because if I am convinced that I am correct, even if I am deceiving you,
right,
there will be no body language in my body which will tell you that I am trying to deceive you. So in my head, I have to know that I am trying to deceive you, at which point my words and my body language might not go together. I might show a lot of signs of stress. Signs of stress are simple, self-comforting. A lot of us do that, my body becomes hot, so I want some air to blow in, things like that. So a lot of these stressors will start coming in, but it could also be a sign that I am being watchful. So be very careful when you try to think that somebody is deceiving you.
So tell us, what exactly defines a body language expert?
I think body language, like the term means, it's just about understanding how or what is the language of your body. So when somebody dwells deep into it, understands the science behind why we signal with our bodies the way we do, and tries to go about joining the language of the body to how people can actually apply it. That's what I believe defines being or having an expertise in the field.
So tell us, can you share your journey from where you started to becoming a body language expert?
So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So once I quit my corporate job, I joined my mother-in-law in her business, and at a point when I decided it's time to start your own thing, right? So I went back to all the notes which I had gathered over time, and I realized that no matter what I have done in my life, I was into wealth management, portfolio management, family entrepreneur, but one thing was common, which is studying people. And this is something I had done with my father when I was a child, studying him, his patience, things like that, right? So then I understood that out of everything else, if you want to do something day in and day out, it has to be a passion that you have and which you'll never get exhausted with. And that's when I decided that, okay, if I like studying people, let me just go about helping others to do the same, right? So creating that impact is what helped me to set up Simply Body Talk in 2013, and there's been no looking back. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, different milestones that we've achieved. We went international, we started with our first corporate workshop, then we started doing coaching assignments with the senior executives. I set up Q Kids, which now works with children across the globe. That was set up in 2019. We work with special forces and the military. So for me, all these are those small milestones that we've achieved. And yeah, I mean, it's been going well. And since it's a subject that I love, every day is new, every day is challenging, but body language starts there and it ends there for me.
So is body language different to studying psychology?
It's one of the paths, if you would want to put it, right? Because psychology talks a lot about how the mind works, what are the things that we are conscious about, unconscious about, and there to a large extent body language plays a very significant role, which I'm sure you also come across being from the same field. But along with that, it's also a lot to do with communication, because it's a language that your body is constantly signaling or communicating with. So how or what you're doing to tell the other person what's on your mind, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, all of that also somewhere contributes to what body language stands for. So yes, it's a part of psychology, but there's a lot more to body language as well. You might have seen in media when the advertisements are put out, or maybe on the radio when the host is just talking through their non-verbal communication, or maybe say in the military, because we work there, when they just have to enter the room and within that one split second they have to take a call whether to shoot that person sitting in the room or not. So it's much more impactful if you look at it from the right angle. So that's why it's much more beyond.
So would you call body language an instinct?
Yeah, so I mean that's about it, like whatever you do with your body instinctively, that is what defines body language. Now it could either be that you are trying to communicate, again it could be very instinctive, like when I'm speaking, I am using my words, but along with that my hands are moving, my eyebrows are moving, right? So when you're communicating instinctively, you're using body language. At the same time, when you feel any threat in your environment, it doesn't need to be somebody holding a gun at your head. It could also be that maybe you ask me a question that I was not anticipating, something even as simple as that. So that time also you can't really control what your body is doing, it is instinctively reacting. So communicating and reacting, both of these facets of body language, they are very much instinctive. So yes, body language is instinctive to that extent.
So I also read that you're an CXO coach. What does that exactly entail?
So that basically means working with senior leaders or the top echelon in different organizations, just helping them to build the right impact through their leadership.
So CXO means CEO or COO and or CFO.
Yes,
right? Am I correct?
Yes, that's broadly it. So basically the top hierarchy in any organization, it could be your self-led company, or it could also be one of the multinationals. Yes, yes.
Great. So tell me, what inspired you to specifically focus on body language in your coaching practice?
So see, body language was my passion. Coaching came very, very organically. For me, it was about using this particular subject to bring about an impact. So when I started in 2013, most people just thought of this subject as, how do you walk into a room, how do you shake your hands, and how do you just sit across from the other person and strike a conversation. But it goes much more beyond that. And in fact, in the multinational organizations, the more they rise to the top, the more they understand that people management is a very big part of the role, and every day is full of challenges. I mean,
why only people? Why only multinationals? I think people management in life is everything.
Correct.
Today you run a household for a housewife and she has a household. She's running those people. She's managing those people. So I think it's important for any human being. You're ultimately running some sort of a firm, whether it be a house, whether it be a company, whether it be a school, whichever it may be. Any organization is, any household or anything is something you have to manage, right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
So how does your brain process normal cues differently from verbal communication?
So non-verbal communication is something we learned when we didn't have words to communicate with, right? So that part of your brain which processes non-verbal communication, it's much more basic or primitive in nature.
Correct.
Which means even before you process the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth or your own mouth, the body is what has already responded back to it. So I'm sure you must have come across these interesting facets where, you know, somebody said a yes but their body was saying a no, or they were pointing in one direction, they were saying I want to go there, but the body was pointing in a different direction, things like that, right? So the point being, the body language, it comes from a more primitive, instinctive part of the brain, and it's already, you know, expressed before you come to the words. So when we talk about the way your brain was developed, verbal communication is what we call, comes from the more creative or manipulative part of the brain. So while we all go about, you know, trying to understand what is it that I want to tell somebody, or how do I want to frame it so that it appeals to the other person, a lot of times we forget that the words and the body language have to go together, the verbal and the non-verbal.
So if I put it simply, you're saying that non-verbal communication is raw and verbal communication is calculated. So one is not calculated and one is calculated, because when we are talking to somebody, I'm calculating my words, I'm very aware of what I'm saying and why I'm saying it and the outcome I want. But I think what you're trying to say is that non-verbal is, I have no idea what my body is saying because it's reacting so naturally without calculation.
Correct,
am I right?
correct. And that's why I love the subject, you know, it's very, very honest and it goes to the core of why you or how you understand people.
Also, I think it's so interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about this before, that is more important than what we are saying. And if I learn to read the non-verbal cues, it will enhance my life more than understanding verbal cues. Am I right?
So see, Ashna, it has to go hand in hand. I mean,
Correct.
it can't be that you just focus on your body language, because we've had clients of all sorts.
Expertise in the sense, if you have a basic understanding of how the human body moves and works, obviously combined with the psychology of how the brain works, I think that's a lethal combination.
It is, and the beauty of the subject is we are all already communicating with our body. It's not like, you know, when somebody from my team or I step in, we are going to come and teach you something you don't know. The idea is going to be that you have to be more aware about what your body is doing, not just what the words are saying. So
or reading somebody's body language.
Correct, correct.
I think the key word here is awareness.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me, is body language universal or does it vary across cultures?
So let's, you know, take an example to understand this. For example, when I'm explaining something to you, I'm using my hand gestures. This is called like a palms perpendicular gesture with the thumbs rising upwards. So palms perpendicular means I'm stating facts very categorically to you, and thumbs rising upward means I'm very confident about what I'm saying. Now this stays universal whether you go to a village, you go to a multinational corporation, you go to US, you know, Australia, because even that ways cultures can be region specific, right? So this, for example, is a very universal gesture. When we talk about very, very typical to the region, I'm sure you heard about the head bob, the typical way in which Indians confirm something or they don't, right?
It's a confused yes or no, right? That's what the Western world...
they think like that, but for Indians, I think when you do that, it's more like, yeah, okay, I'll go with whatever it is that you are.
I'm trying to comply with you.
Correct, correct. So when companies start interacting multinationally, they need to remember to use less of these local variations of body language and, you know, go more with what's universally known, so that you don't have to make an extra effort to connect with people. So yes, there is universal and there is a local.
So since you work with so many people at the top of so many firms and companies and multinational companies, can you tell us how leaders use body language to build trust and rapport with their teams?
So I think one of the first instances in my workplace that came about is when I had a boss who told me, or he was like complaining to the entire team that, why do I have to sit with people management when I have so many technical things to finish off. So somewhere there is this misunderstanding that, as you rise to the top, somewhere you have to start dealing more with technical things and less with other things around. But managing teams is a very big part of either being a manager or then upwards being a leader.
Correct.
Right. So building that rapport is one thing. Like whenever somebody new joins in, you want to make sure that you have that individual rapport with them, not just with the team, like when they are sitting in a team. But more important is they should know that they can trust you at any point in time, right? So how do you build that? Now, in conversations, it's simple that when you are sitting across from somebody, you don't have too many barriers between you. Like ideally, I would want this mic to be on the side so that my body can stay open towards you, right? How we are sitting face to face, not seated across,
sideways.
Yes, sideways. So the more my body is open towards you, the more I'm trying to suggest that I'm open to receiving what it is that you have to share with me. So that is one thing. A lot of times we are multitasking, like I'm on the phone, I'm on the laptop, I'm telling you, okay, tell me what it is, I'm going to finish all this. So now just think about it. You've called in somebody into your cabin, okay, you're working on your things and you ask them, are you going to deliver this on time or not? That person feels they cannot tell you a no because they are obliged to finish it, but their body language was giving you that cue that they are themselves not very sure. Now you were doing two things, you didn't understand that, and at a later point you call them and ask them why when you said a yes you didn't complete it.
But you
right?
missed out on that information.
Correct. So being actually physically present, especially in those times when somebody's answer means a lot, there's a lot at stake at that point, giving them that 100% presence is what actually helps you to build that trust with the team.
Why just teams? I think any human beings, whether it be parents and kids, whether it be with your friends, whether it be with your colleagues, any two people having a conversation. If today you are talking to me outside this podcast and we are having a conversation and I start replying to emails, automatically I'm not going to understand half of what you're trying to tell me. Correct. I'm sure the body language part comes into it because my observation becomes half. I'm Correct. Only listening, and even listening becomes half because I'm not looking. So Correct. Your attention is divided and it's subdivided because now I'm also processing what I'm writing or I'm doing on my phone. So I think anyway communication is lost if Correct. You're not actually looking at the person and having a conversation. And I think years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it would be abnormal to not look at somebody and have a conversation one-on-one. They would be like, what are you doing? Why don't you finish ironing, cooking, whatever you're doing and come back to me? But because of our society or our lifestyles with so many devices and so many distractions, it has become okay to do two things at the same time.
Correct.
But like you said, if it fails you in communication, then I think it's a lost cause. We have to understand that one-way communication is it.
Correct. And like you said, it's applicable everywhere.
Correct.
Like if two mothers are busy chatting and the child is coming and saying, Mama, talk to me or listen to me, and you are busy chatting, so you tell him, just wait, let me finish this. The body language of that child or even the vocal pitch, that will tell you how important or urgent it is for that child to just know that, okay, I am with you. Maybe you could just say it in a different way, just give that child some attention, some physical touch, and tell them that, just give me a second, let me finish it with auntie and come back to you, right? Even that much will help. So being physically present is a must anywhere you go. So
I agree. I also feel it's almost, call me old fashioned, I almost find it insulting when someone doesn't physically listen. It's not just, have your ear, I'm listening, I'm doing this, I'm watching TV, but I'm listening, go on, tell me your story. I actually think it's rude. If you're talking to somebody, give your full attention or say, I'm busy, I'll speak to you in 15 minutes.
Right.
Finish whatever task you're doing.
So there are two reasons why, maintaining that physical presence or eye contact becomes a little challenging as we go ahead in life or in the human journey. One is because of all these devices, the attention span has actually gone down.
Correct.
So while you might want to be with somebody, there is just so much information everywhere that you are constantly hopping from one to the other, which means that attention span has become a problem. So, to that extent, eye contact has really gone down.
Yeah.
Not just eye contact. When I say that, it means the presence you are giving to somebody.
Correct.
And the second is, as you rise in your experience, there what happens is, there is so much of data that one needs to keep crunching all the time. So this is a debate I keep having with leaders all the time. They will tell me, oh, that this is the deal I'm doing. I need to really, know one number from the other. And if I look at the person, how do I do that? So that's the balance you need to strike, that, while you are processing information, it can be in your head, but you have to physically let the other person know that I am with you and I am listening to you. So it's a task, but we have to learn to balance the two. One, give the right attention, learn to extend your attention span if you don't, and the other one is, even if you rise and you have a lot of challenging things or numbers to crunch, you have to learn the art of balancing, giving the attention and holding the other person's attention, as well as processing what they are saying and how they are saying it. So
also, I think I'll derive some basic conclusions from what you said. I think it also boils down to respect. So for instance, like you said, a leader or CEO of a company is trying to make a deal, but he's crunching numbers and he's not paying attention. He's already being disrespectful to the person there. So half the deal is already not on the table because he has disrespected, not realizing. So I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that plays an important role of how important the person is feeling to you. If today you are here talking to me and I keep looking at my screen, you will feel like, why am I here? I'm not important what I'm saying, it's more important what she's reading on the screen, right? It's as simple, because human beings, what do we want in the end? We want to be heard. I'm kind of relating this to what we focus on is mental health. Now, if we focus on mental health, what is mental health? We are looking to feel heard, seen and important. That's what all human beings want. Once we are heard, we are seen and we feel important, we are happy. That's what we want ultimately, right? Emotionally, to be fulfilled in this way.
Correct.
So if I'm not being fulfilled by whoever may be doing the deal with me, might be a top CEO of wherever, but if he's not giving me the basic eye contact, body language and attention and respect that I want, then already I feel like, no, I don't think this person deserves the deal. Do you think I'm right?
So Ashna, you're absolutely correct there. What I also feel is, see, right now we are discussing one part of the conversation, which is that I need to give you my attention. But when it comes to a conversation, you also want to know whether I'm making that effort to want to connect with you, right? So if you are doing things, you are not making that effort to put yourself out there. So I need to put in that effort to also share what's on my mind. That is one thing. And second is to be vulnerable. See, as we progress, we talk about even emotional intelligence. The key aspect is, I want to know what's on your mind. I don't want to always keep looking for cues here and there. If you don't share that with me, then yes, it becomes a compulsion that I have to try and see indirectly what's on your mind. So that being said, whoever it is, be it a mother and a child, be it spouses sitting down together, or be it your teams or your colleagues in the boardroom
or friends.
Yes, correct. So they want to know who you are all about and how authentic or vulnerable are you in front of them. Not always letting go, but yes, sharing what's on your mind.
I think where emotional intelligence is concerned, let's say we have that, let's say we have the high IQ also, but still you miss out on when people are lying to you, you miss out on when somebody is misleading you, which is again a lie. Can you tell us 5 cues, basic cues that tell you someone's lying to you?
Again, lying is not, there is no body language signal which is a guarantee that somebody is lying, right? But if you see that they are really trying to control how they are acting out or how they are communicating through their body language, that is the biggest clue you can get. Either they will watch their words, which means there will be lots of pauses before they speak. It could be one of them. It could also be that you see a lot of stressors like, rubbing or that one also, but it's also a sign of high stress. So you should be careful about that. Use of hand gestures, they go up, they go down. You will see sweating happening. Again, see, the idea is these all can happen in any high stress situation. There are lots of examples where we are talking about now interrogations, where people actually confess to crimes they were not committed, because the person or the police who was asking them these questions, they took up these signals to mean that the person is really deceiving them, and put so much pressure on them that the person was just tired of trying to justify
Prove their innocence.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they got
They
convicted
said, you know what,
for
I've
this.
done it.
Correct. So the idea being, these are some of the cues you can go by, but you can never just stick by those and swear that these will work.
fully rely on these. That's
Correct.
not the only way to find out.
Correct. So what do? We try and see what did we expect versus what is it that we are getting, and we ask the right questions. See, in body language there's something called cluster, which means, say I am talking to you right now and you suddenly start closing down. For example, my hands were there when you asked a question, and suddenly my hands go down or my hands go a little to the back. So you might feel that, okay, this person has started going back from the conversation. You will become a little alert. So what happens is, the next question you will be more alert, that what is it that she is going to do next. Is she going to take the hands to the back? Is she going to fold her hands like that? Is she going to look away from me? So that will become your confirmation. Similarly, in deception also, once you feel that, okay, this person is taking a little too many pauses or looking too much in the eye. So not maintaining eye contact is not a signal of lying. Somebody looking too much into the eye, that is actually why, because they want to make sure that they know how you are taking in their words. That's why people look a lot into the eyes when they are trying to deceive. So you try to put that into the right perspective and ask the right questions after that. That will help you to get to the reason why somebody is trying to not be totally honest with you.
So tell us, what are some of the subtle signs that would indicate that somebody in your household is experiencing stress or burnout? They may not be able to say it. Not everyone's expressive, right? Not everyone's physically expressive, and not everyone's emotionally expressive. Some people are not able to tell you that I'm going through a really hard time at work, or I'm having a really bad time in my relationship. Your teenage son is going through relationship drama, not being able to tell you about it. He's come home, drops his bag, goes to his room. These are very basic cues that they're not spoken to me. He's dumped his bag, gone and shut the door.
Right.
But let's say he does that anyway, even when he's happy. How do you understand burnout or stress with people within your household?
Okay, so see, burnout starts at a point. I'm sure when you interact with people also, you might feel that at a point somebody is looking a little stressed, or at a point somebody starts looking a lot more distracted in general. So if we are able to catch burnout a little before it happens, best thing. So let's take the same example, that you have a son who just dumps his bag and just runs into his room anyways. Now you have to catch the person at the right time. For example, if you know that after dinner, when you are all seated together, he is with you on the table and somewhere you are all doing the same activity. It could be watching the TV together or just sharing what your day was all about. At that time, maybe you ask one or two questions, how's your life going or how's your day going, and you look at how they are reacting to it. For example, if you expect them to be a little expressive but they are trying to shut down, right? There is no reason. You just asked a very simple question, that how is your day going, but
or
they are not
defensive.
So shutting down or being defensive, any of the two. Shutting down would mean maybe no eye contact, or maybe just going a little away from you. Defensive could start becoming crossing of everything, not even answering, not looking at you. So then you start at least trying to dig deeper. Maybe you take them out when they have a lot of time and talk to them. So these are some of the cues which will tell you. For a son who drops the bag and goes again, I'm sorry, I'm using the same example, but maybe we can stick to that just to understand the difference. How much longer are they staying in that room and not coming out could also be your cue. For example, they have a habit of maybe playing music at a certain volume for a certain time. Now that has gone a lot more. See, these are also all non-verbal communications. It's not just the body language, there's a lot more that comes with it that you can understand.
Correct.
Right? Coming to just body language, if a person reacts extremely, extreme could mean either not reacting at all or reacting a lot more. For example, say I'm asking my husband, why were you on the phone for so long? We were all waiting for you. And he just explodes. Right? I was not expecting him to explode, and we know that normally is not like that. But
and
right
that's a
now,
normal question to ask, that we were waiting, what happened?
Correct. And he explodes. Then you know that probably there's something that's coming up. So again, what am I doing? I'm trying to compare how they are behaving every day versus how today they are
So that's
behaving.
your cue for stress, your non-verbal cue for stress.
Yes, a lot of stress, because in normal situations they might just kind of say, let it be, let me finish this. See, most of the times, at least with our loved ones, we are able to stay composed. Like you might say even to your son that just give me 2 minutes, let me finish this, I'll come back to you. But when you're not able to do that, that means something is bothering them a lot at that point in time. So
Correct.
that should be your biggest cue that this person either needs their time. How will they signal to you that they need their time? They will start backing out in different ways, or find the right moment and talk it out with them, because understanding that this person is burnt out is very, very important, especially because we all belong together. We don't want it to get too late. So
Correct.
that cue comes from body language.
So do you think that, we talk about emotional triggers, right? So for example, a child being called fat since childhood, later on works out, becomes slim as an adult now, is very much into fitness, but that trigger of being called fat will always subconsciously be there unless he's worked on it or she's worked on it. Now let's say they've gone to the same restaurant and they're eating the same meal, and 2 kids or 2 people have ordered very, very fatty meals, and the third person says, I'll just have the salad. Now their body language may say they want to eat the high fat meal that you're having, but that trigger or that subconscious feeling is there. Is there a way to study that?
It's a little difficult. See, for most of us, especially Indians, we are people who are very, very high context, which means I will look at what you are saying. For example, you might say that my friend said this in this manner, उसने ये चीज़ ऐसे बोली थी, right? So the idea being, we are already studying a lot of these things any which ways. We are much better than other societies at being accurate at what people are saying in general. So to that extent, maybe you will realize that there is an intent to want to eat, but they are trying to withdraw.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, how quickly is the person answering? You might, they might take a long pause and then look at the food for a very long time. Maybe their body even opens up to that food and then they go to the back, they withdraw, or they take that pause and then they answer that question. Even through the voice, like our voice pitch becomes a little sharper when something is bothering us.
Oh yeah.
So these are things,
like
which,
with our kids, when we are mad at them, our pitch just keeps rising.
Correct.
Or we're mad with somebody else and we take it out on someone else, right? Sometimes you'll end up taking out your frustration on your loved ones only with your pitch getting higher, not realizing that
Correct.
it's not them who have bugged you, it's someone else.
Correct.
Yeah.
So these are some of the cues that could tell you that something is stopping the person. It's always good to give them the benefit of doubt and try and help them out instead of trying to judge them that he wanted to eat, but मुझे पता है that he's worked on this and that's why he's not eating. It's
Yeah.
always good to give that benefit of doubt to people.
So how can practicing open and relaxed body language help reduce feelings of anxiety in yourself and others?
For me, these are 2 different concepts. One is reducing anxiety in yourself and one is reducing anxiety in others.
Correct.
Okay? So for example, let's say you are sitting in for a job interview and it's a very high stress situation for you. You know that whatever question gets asked, you prepared your best for it, but कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं, you don't know what's going to come, right? So you might want to keep your body a little open and relaxed, right? There are a lot of people who teach, sit up with a steeple and do all that and show all your attention, straight posture. But it's a better idea to sit a little relaxed, because you know that this is a high stake
Stress
situation and I'm already feeling that little bit of anxiety inside me. So sitting like that, see, as body language tells you what's going on in that mind, even to that extent, if you are able to keep your body language in a certain way, somewhere it helps to also impact the mind in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, if I keep my body relaxed for now, and it will help my mind relax, right?
Correct.
The other way around. Instead of your mind relaxing your body can relax your mind.
Yes, so
Right?
that is the idea. There's a lot of different people, different cultures who've done a lot of research on this, and it's a proven fact that if you allow your body to relax, meditation is one of them, right? What do we do when we meditate? We try and relax our body out. So
Yoga.
correct. So keeping your body open helps you to feel that calmness come in, right? And the other thing is the person across from you. See, we do a lot of what is called emotional mimicry. Like if I am in a lot of tension, you will pick that up. Most of us will pick it up.
Yeah.
Correct. And you will start feeling it in a certain way.
Yeah.
If I'm jumpy, I'm restless, you will start feeling that whether you want to or not. So how do I try and, for example, I am being restless and jumpy and you are at the other end. You try and stay relaxed. I'm looking at you, I'm conversing with you. Somewhere it will help me also to relax down. I've asked a lot of people these questions that, who is your role model? A lot of the answers come in, and the answer to the because I think they are my role model is that they are calm and composed. It could be an actor,
wow.
It could be a business leader, it could just be a yoga guru, whoever. The answer is not that they have done so much in their life as much as that they are calm and composed in all the situations.
So the role model is not based on achievement, it's based on how they make you feel. Am I right?
Correct.
So I guess that's very important. I didn't know that this is how we pick who we look up to. I thought most of it is achievement based, because when we are small, we are told, when you grow up, you have to achieve this, you have to reach this. So you start looking at people in that organization. Let's say I wanted to be a fashion designer. I would look at the top fashion designers and be like, I want to be like them. But as you grow up, your role models change, your ideas of life change, your ideas of emotions change. And that's, you're absolutely right. We start looking at why do people have gurus? Because they calm you, and then people start having role models like that. This guru, when I go to their temple, or when I go and meet this person, or when I go to my psychologist or my therapist, why they're my role models and I feel best at my best is because I feel my calmest.
Correct.
So yeah, you're right. And I think it's very interesting that what you said in the beginning, we are primal animals, right? So our body goes into flight or fight immediately without us realizing.
Correct.
And we might calculate all we want, but then our body realizes there's danger where we feel a situation or a place or a person feels dangerous to us. We start reacting in that way from our body, and where we feel is a safe space, and our body gives that language of a safe space. So tell me, let's go into relationships a bit. If two people are in a relationship, they live together, and they both have extremely demanding jobs and high stress demanding jobs. They both are extremely stressed. They come back home and they don't know how to communicate to each other that we are dealing with very stressful situations at work, and they try to keep it coy and quiet between, because trying to keep peace at home. How do you understand that? How do you deal with that?
Okay, so it's a good question. What I would want or suggest people is not to get there. It's always good to, talk it out with your better half. But if something like that is the case, see, what you will understand is this person is trying to keep calm, but something is bothering them. That difference which is there in how a person is trying to be and what is actually going on is what will tell you that something is bothering them. Maybe at work, it could be something simple, that car ran into an accident, anything of that sort could have happened, right? So for example, I tell my spouse that see, I want us to sit down together and discuss out, say, our finances at the end of the day. Now finances by itself is going to be a tough one to crack.
Stressful conversation.
Correct. So as a person, I need to be mindful that whatever I am going to say after this or here, I have to keep the other emotions out, right? So these are all like secondary emotions, where एक emotion से दूसरा impact करता है, तीसरा impact करता है. So I have to tell myself that when I am going into this situation, I am already going through a lot. When I am there, I have to keep everything aside and be there. So when you talk it out with yourself, it becomes a little easier to deal with it. But say I'm trying to understand my husband, that when he is coming back, is he coming with the same presence of mind or not?
Yeah.
He might tell me that, okay, I'm ready to go about it, but I will know that when he is ready, his body language is so and so. But today when he is talking about this, his body language is different, right? So that will be my cue that he's saying something else, but right now things are not what it looks like. And when I understand the difference, I have to cut it short. I have to know that this is the time to end this conversation. Finances are later on, but this relationship is much more important and there's a lot at stake. So I will, try and focus on that. So you can do like a small talk with them. You will see they are receptive, right? All of us, when we become more receptive, there are different signals that we give. Correct. For example, the body will become calmer. You will react only when required. or you will find a lot more synchrony and how you are reacting, the other one is reacting. You will see them tilting their heads, nodding back, giving more eye contact. In couples, you will also have a lot of contact. So that all will tell you that this person is now with you. One important cue again is the space around you, right? The physical space around you. Now most of us with people we are really close with, that physical space is, it can be close to zero, correct?
Yeah.
So that's absolutely okay. But when you are feeling that anxiety, and that's a high level of anxiety, you will push the most dear one away.
Yeah, that happens, and I don't understand why. So, let's say you had a very bad day at work. The only person you don't want to talk to is your husband. For example, closest to you, and I actually don't want to tell him. I don't know why, like you said, I don't know why that happens. Or let's say when I was in school, if something really bizarre happened, I don't want to tell her mother. She'll say, why are you not behaving normal? Are you upset with something? But I don't want to tell her. And I'm most awkward with her, body language wise or verbally. Why does that happen?
So see, the thing is, when we go to our loved ones, there are two reasons why we go. One reason is you want them to be like that emotional support, where they will just hug you and sit with you and tell you everything is okay. And then there is the role that your loved ones play, which is a logical role. They will help you to figure out what is wrong, how it is. So as a friend, your friend should be able to make out from your body language that at this moment Ashna is just looking for dumping out the emotions.
Venting.
Correct. So if she is able to catch that and she is able to talk it out in the right manner, that I am there, if your day is been hectic, you want to talk about it, let me know, how has it been, things like that, then you will feel calmer and you will be able to be around them. But if they start going into that logical mode, that what is bothering you, do you want, is it your boss, is it this one, that one, so they are asking you to think.
Not only that, I think sometimes when you're experiencing the problem, and let's say that's the stress situation, you don't want to problem solve. You don't want to come home and be like, okay mom, I'll tell you why XYZ happened, now I feel bad, now this. You sometimes don't want any problem solving. So I think your loved ones will instinctively try to problem solve for you. They'll try to make the situation better for you. But at that point, you don't want problem solving. Either you want to just sit and sulk about the problem. That's what most human beings want to do, right? Or you want to completely talk about something else. Because it's like a coping mechanism. You distract yourself from the problem and then it helps you cope with the problem. Because you're able to process it later. So I think that is the issue. You're right, absolutely. We don't want to problem solve at that time, and that's what close ones will do for you.
Correct. So just understand, where are they coming from? Do they want to just be around you? Do they want to be all alone, or do they want to actually sit down and talk it out with you? That should help.
What is the most fascinating discovery you made in the last 11 years of studying body language?
So it's a very interesting question. I think I am a learner, or I have been a learner all my life. Human body is a very, very complicated system to say, right? So that's what I have understood. There are so many things that even now, after whatever 11 years of practicing and more than 20-30 years of just learning the subject, I find that fascinates me. For example, if we just take the shoulders that we have, right? If you are in an embrace, just looking at a picture of how two people are hugging each other, you can make out who is the one who initiated that embrace and who is the one who is just responding back to it, right? Take your palm for example. Your palm will not sweat unless there is a high stress situation. That can be physical stress, like you're working out and things like that, or it can be a psychological stress. But if the AC in the room is not working, I might sweat, but my palm is not going to sweat.
It's not going to sweat at all?
Nope. So that is the thing, that the human body is just so fascinating that there is no end to it. Okay, another fascinating aspect to AI being in our lives these days is just the human hand. There are so many different variations of so many things that we can do just with our digits that till date robots have not been able to replicate it. So the idea for me, the thing that really fascinates me is, I don't know when at all, if at all, technology will be able to even cope up with the amount that our bodies are able to do, leave alone your mind. So I keep working and I keep learning more and more about the body as years go by, and that's what I think I'll just continue doing.
I think instinctively I was pretty aware of body language and instincts play a great role. But today has been an absolutely fascinating conversation as to how we ignore the signs, what we can do to understand the signs, and how we can apply this to better understand people around us. Thank you so much, Khyati. This has been an absolutely great conversation. I think this has been one of my favorite conversations in a long time.
It's been a pleasure, Ashna. I think a lot depends on the host as well. So thank you so much for asking so many questions that made me more interested in talking about it.
Thank you.